I just think that they wanted to send the message. I don't think we've responded. And for me, what I'd like to see is the intensity and fight that we saw in the third quarter from start to finish. And let the outcome be what the outcome is. I care. But if I just see that and know that that's how we need to be when the games that really, truly matter, because I don't think the Knicks are catching anyone for the first or second seed. So we're 3 or 4, depending on how this thing shakes out. We're going to be seeing one of those teams in the second round, currently, all injuries and stuff aside. So give me that intensity we saw in the third quarter, and now it's our time to fight back and punch back, because, like I said, we've enjoyed 2 years of kind of punking the Cavs off that playoff win, and the Celtics have been hearing how we're coming. And I think now it's time to punch back.
And all those games, I believe, are in April. So if everything goes well for the Knicks, they have Mitchell Robinson back in these games. And so, Mill, do you see it the way Jerry sees it? You need to see that third quarter more consistently in these 3 games against those top teams. What do you see?
100%. I want to see the effort at maximum 100. I want to see it above 100. I want to see these guys going out there playing hard, making the adjustments they need to do. And we just need to see a level of effort that exactly we saw in that third quarter that we've seen in previous seasons. And I know it's hard because we lost a lot of guys that were previously on this team that put in that effort. Isaiah Hartenstein, for example, DiVincenzo, those were bulldogs, and they brought a lot of hustle and energy to this team that we're now missing. You look at this team, you look at them some games, and they're lacking a lot of heart. They're lacking a lot of energy. And you can't exactly figure out why, because we have a lot of great players on our team. It's just I want to see them play better in those type of situations, and I don't want to see them just start playing in the third quarter. I want to see it from the get-go. First quarter, they need to come out there with that mentality that they can try to compete against these top teams, try to beat them, because to look at how they came out against the Celtics on Sunday after getting blown out by the Cavs, it was a real disappointment. I was hoping that they would come out better, but obviously that wasn't the case, and I want to see improvement from now on.
I mean, there were so many different reasons, right, why things went poorly against Cleveland and Boston. It's never one thing. It's never usually 2 things. It's usually 4 or 5 things. The one thing that stood out to me was Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby. I think they had 3 combined rebounds between them against Cleveland and Boston. I think Bridges didn't have a rebound against Boston. And look, those guys, I get it, right? Mikal Bridges, you're chasing the point of attack defender. OG Anunoby chasing around wings. So you're not in perfect position to rebound. But neither is Josh Hart. And Josh Hart finds a way to grab rebounds. So I'm not suggesting that either of these guys need to turn into Dennis Rodman, but I do think you need more rebounding from both of them if you're going to be successful the rest of the year and in these 7-game series. So we'll see how things shake out there. And then, Bridges in particular, there's always going to be a lot of attention paid to him because of, as Mel mentioned earlier, the price paid to get Bridges from the Nets. And, the interesting thing in Brooklyn, I think they lost to Washington. So I think they're 21-36, and I think they were 21-35 last year with Bridges there. And now this is a net team that, is not trying to lose. The players want to win, but the idea is to get a high draft pick. So it's a little bit puzzling when you look at that context as well. The Bridges trade, I think the jury's still out there in my mind. But for you, Jerry, when you look at the move over the summer and where we are now, how do you evaluate that deal?
Look, this is what I find so interesting with Knick fans who I'm either close with in real life or I have a social media friendship with. We got all these picks. When are we going to use them? Push in. We got to do something with these picks. And then we push in with the picks. It's like, you gave up all the picks for Bridges. It's like, which way do you want it, guys? I was pretty psyched when that move happened. Obviously, I thought there'd be more consistency from Bridges. He, by far, has been the most polarizing player on the roster because at one moment he's, blocking Vucevic for a game winner, or he has that chase down block for a game winner, and everyone's like, 5 picks, enjoy those. They're going to be 25-30. And then he has a bad shooting game and doesn't grab a rebound and gets exposed. And it's like, oh my God, we gave up our whole entire future. I am good with it because that is a player we've always had targeted and never realistically thought we could actually get because of the Nets-Knicks relationship. I don't worry about any of those picks. I think right now, currently, even though the world is crumbling because the Knicks lost 2 in a row, I still think that pick would fall at 26 right now or 27. And sure, that could be a good pick. Who knows? Yeah, do you start thinking about when you get 5 years down the road what that pick could be? Yeah, but I can't start really planning on what happens 5 years. I think for Bridges, as if he can get consistent at the right time, I think it'll all be okay. I'm fine with that trade. And obviously the cat trade threw me for a loop emotionally, like every Knicks fan. Again, totally okay with it. I sure do miss Randall and DiVincenzo. I always wanted to see that team full strength that we never got to see really from last year. But I'm ultimately fine and happy with the offseason. I really am. This is the best Knicks roster. I think I have to go back to like 99, 2000. So I'm happy with all of it. And let the picks fall where they may, Ian and Mill. Let the picks fall where they may.
Fair enough. I think sometimes people will say, if you traded 2 firsts for maybe, a DeAndre Hunter type, and then you had those picks to use elsewhere, I think that's where people go when people who are down on this trade. I think sometimes you hear that. So I'm just curious.
But was Hunter even available until this blow up deadline? Jalen Johnson goes out, the Hawks lose. I didn't know if he was fully available until recently.
Fair. I guess I mean a DeAndre Hunter type, but also I think if you went to Atlanta and you said, hey, we have, 2 firsts and a pick swap, they would pay for DeAndre Hunter's flight up to New York. So I think, there are different ways to look at it. Mill, I'm curious for you, longtime fan, passionate observer. Where are you on the Bridges deal at this point?
I don't think it's proven to be worth it yet. I mean, he really needs to be better on both ends of the ball from what we've seen. His defense to me has been mediocre. I know he's come up big in certain situations, like Jerry mentioned, the block against the Bulls. We've seen another block by him, but I think it's been mediocre. And, his defensive rating is the worst this year since his rookie year. And that says a lot as how he's been performing. I think a lot of people saw that he was a former All-NBA defensive player, and we were excited about that. A lot of us were excited about that, but the reality is that was 3 years ago. He's not that same defender that he was in Phoenix. That was a runner-up to Defensive Player of the Year. And a lot of Nets fans, I don't really listen to a lot of Nets fans, but they've been saying that he was the same way in Brooklyn, that he was mediocre on the defensive end. He would get blown by, and that's what we're seeing a lot now, is that his point of attack defense is weak. He's getting blown by. He's getting out-muscled. There's a lot of things you're noticing with his defense, and it's a little disappointing to say the least, because we traded 5 picks for a player we were hoping that would push us to that, will take us to that next level defensively and match up really well against Boston, so he could be on the wing with OG. But it's been disappointing to see that. And offensively, I think that he's really up and down throughout the season. We've seen him go through slumps. Right now, he's in a slump too. The most points he's put up since February 8th has been 14 points. And, the Celtics game recently, he pretty much had 6 points before the garbage time, and then he got up to 14. But 6 points against the Boston Celtics is not going to cut it. It really isn't acceptable. He's supposed to be a solidified third option on our team. When you compare him to other third options, he's just not being comparable. He's just not competing as well as I'd like right now. Porzingis, the third option for the Celtics, and then we have Mobley. They're just doing a lot more than he's doing. I'd like to see more from him. And one thing to point out is that he's just not being aggressive enough as well. When he goes through these shooting slumps, you're not seeing aggression from him getting to the basket. A posting and toasting media site pointed out that he's attempting only 1 free throw per game this season. And that's just unacceptable, because he's playing the most minutes in the league. So there's no reason, if you're playing over 40 minutes a game, that you should only be attempting 1 or 2 free throws a game. You should be getting there more often. And I definitely think that would help him with his offensive and shooting struggles. So I'd like to see him be more aggressive on the offensive end and improve on both ends, really.